Having netted 4 podiums in the first 5 Grand Prix of 2024, Perez endured a trying rest of the season, scoring just 49 points between round 7 in Imola and round 24 in Abu Dhabi, less than he'd scored in the first 4 race weekends of the year. That saw Red Bull slump to P3 in the constructors by season end, behind winners McLaren and Ferrari, and despite Max Verstappen winning the title 2 rounds early. Indeed, had the second Red Bull accrued the same number of points, 437, as Verstappen, the team would have won the constructors by over 200 points. Despite Red Bull having handed Perez a 2-year contract extension in June, the Mexican's performance has led to talk that he could be replaced for 2025, with Horner implying that his choice would be between current RB drivers Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda, who had his first ever Red Bull test in Abu Dhabi earlier this week. Asked about the performance of Lawson in 2025, the New Zealander, having replaced Daniel Ricciardo at RB from the United States Grand Prix, Horner replied, "I think Liam, in challenging circumstances, has done a very good job. If you analyze what he's done in the time that he's had and the race pace he's had, I think he's done a good job. I think Yuki's done a good job. So in the event that anything were decided with Checo, they would be the candidates we would look towards." Horner also addressed the next steps in the process with Perez, as Red Bull work out how they can get back in the constructors' fight in 2025. Obviously, those discussions will happen between Checo and the team. Now we've got the season out of the way, we'll sit down with him and reflect on the season, and obviously where it's gone wrong, and collectively work out what is the right and appropriate way forward. Checo has been a great server to this team. Going back to this race in Abu Dhabi in 2021, the contribution that he made, 2022 and 2023 Constructors' Championships, 5 race victories, second in last year's Drivers' Championship, so he's done an awful lot for this team, and we'll sit down and reflect on this season and how we move forward. There's no immediate rush, added Horner. We have all of the permutations available to us internally, so I think the first thing is to sit down with Checo and have that conversation now that the season's completed. Sitting here now, he's still our driver, so it would be wrong for me to speculate on what next year may look like until he and I have sat down. Horner did say, however, that it was crucial for Red Bull to have 2 drivers that are scoring on a regular collective basis in the Constructors' Championship. Ferrari will be strong with their lineup next year, McLaren have a strong lineup, Mercedes will have an inexperienced driver in one of their seats, said Horner. And so for us it's very important that both of our drivers are delivering and there's not a significant gap. As for Tsunoda, the Japanese driver was tight-lipped on his future after testing the RB20, telling the media after the Abu Dhabi test, "It was very fun. I mean, it's the first different car I've driven in the last 4 years, and I'm feeling the reason why this car is fighting for the championship. I feel quite a difference between what I was driving and this. We had such a productive day. I'm happy more than ever right now." And yet, none of that changes the fact Sunday will mark Lawson's 11th full start in F1. His CV otherwise includes runner-up in the DTM, runner-up in Super Formula like Pierre Gasly, and 3rd place in his 2nd year in Formula 2. That's Warrington Day, Warrington decent, but frankly, not better than decent. Not that Tsunoda's junior career was a stunning one either, but you can argue it was a bit more impressive if you consider that his 3rd place in F2 came not in his 2nd year in the series like for Lawson, but in his 2nd year on the European racing scene, full stop. All new tracks, completely different culture. Then there's the fact Tsunoda is finishing up his 4th year in F1 with Red Bull's junior team, and that he's outscored and outqualified his last 3 teammates, including race winner Daniel Ricciardo. But in the F1 paddock, it is widely perceived that it's the guy with 10 races under his belt who's the favorite to get the nod from Red Bull, rather than the guy who has been the faster of the two in most of the qualifying sessions and races they've done as teammates. If you're Tsunoda, it must be really puzzling and frustrating. And puzzled and frustrated is exactly what he seems to be, at least when facing the media. Maybe a little bit lost as well when hearing questions about whether he genuinely feels that he has a chance of getting that seat. Questions in which the phrasing itself implies that there's good reason for him not to genuinely feel that way. On Thursday in Abu Dhabi, when facing the media at the pen, he really had to think hard before providing answers to some of the questions. Perez has been under pressure for most of this season after scoring just 152 of Red Bull's 581 points and rarely getting near teammate Max Verstappen. The last weekend in Qatar saw him eliminated in the first part of sprint qualifying, and he spun in the main race on a safety car restart, overheating his clutch in the process, which caused him to retire. Checo has been a wonderful driver for us. Certainly in 2021, 2022, 2023, he contributed to Max's championship in 2021 and the Constructors in 2022 and 2023, Horner said. Most of all, he's a great guy. He's not enjoying the situation he's in at the moment. He knows the pressure of this business, We are going to give him all the support we can all the way to the checkered flag in Abu Dhabi. What he decides to do, that will be his decision at the end of the day. He's old enough and wise enough to come to his own conclusions. There's still a race to go. Horner later reiterated to the written media, Checo's old enough and wise enough to know what the situation is. Let's see where we are after Abu Dhabi. Perez's start to the season, which featured 4 podiums in 5 races, soon earned him a 2-year contract extension in June until the end of 2026 season. But, with Red Bull's bosses not denying that his new term contains performance clauses. After Red Bull chose to stick with him beyond the summer break, Perez produced his best form for months at September's Azerbaijan GP, but finished without anything to show for it after a last-lap collision with Carlos Sainz. Aside from Baku, Perez has largely struggled, and his lack of points has meant Red Bull are likely to finish third in the Constructors' Championship behind McLaren and Ferrari. Sergio Perez is set to leave Red Bull at the end of the F1 2024 season. Perez has come under pressure during a disastrous season, with the Mexican driver still without a podium finish since the Chinese Grand Prix in April. Having failed to retain the Constructors' title, Red Bull are expected to confirm Perez's departure in the aftermath of this weekend's season-ending Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. 2 drivers are understood to be in contention to become Max Verstappen's new teammate for F1 2025, with Williams' Franco Colapinto no longer a target. What you think about Sergio Perez set to leave Red Bull at end of season? Like and comments below.